Welcome, y'all, to the third episode of the Football Sticker Story. Thank you so much for joining us on another episode. Matt, what's up?
It's been a long week, man. It's been a crazy week here in the United States, so I'm glad to talk about soccer instead of some other things. And yeah, how about yourself, man? How you doing?
Yeah, we're speaking to you all from a post-election America. So let's see what the future beholds for us. And I've honestly not been. I've been engaged in everything that's been going on, so I haven't been really into like the soccer stuff. We're talking about how we haven't made any purchases
Hmm.
recently because we've just been focused on other things. So
Yeah,
um, I just think it'll be fun to get back, I guess, at full capacity into the hobby, and
definitely.
I think it will also be fun to start watching games again. I'm
Yep,
actually Man City and Liverpool just started.
yep.
I just realized. So
We'll make
hopefully
this quick. We'll make this a
we'll,
lot quicker than the old
we
episodes.
will make it quick because for those that have been following, they probably know I'm a Liverpool fan. So hopefully, but I'm also a Kun Agüero fan. So, but he's hurt, so he's not playing today. So I guess I can cheer for Liverpool with all my heart
I
today.
need that. I need this guy to score some goals.
Yeah, man.
So
Is he still injured or is he back?
he's injured. He's injured still.
Okay.
So
Okay.
and Arsenal plays Aston Villa in a couple hours, so I'll
Oh
be
yeah.
watching
We
that.
got both our teams playing today.
Yeah, so we'll make it quick. We'll make it a little short episode for this one.
Yeah. And again, just wanted to thank you all for the feedback we've been receiving. Matt has been getting a lot of comments. I've gotten people message me through Instagram. We really appreciate all the feedback, good
Hmm.
and bad, how we can improve, and all the positive comments are always welcome. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for listening. But without further ado, we're talking about stickers today.
Hmm.
And Matt, who is a Brazil sticker encyclopedia, will
Whoa,
be.
chill, chill, chill.
Bro, I gotta hype you up, man. I'm your hype man. I'm your hype man on this podcast.
All right.
So I'll hype you up, and we'll be talking about the sticker story, this the sticker history first, and then we'll go into our Brazil top 11, which hopefully will be the cause of some controversy in the comments that we receive coming up. So,
Yes.
Matt, I'm ready for a history lesson.
All right. I'm gonna be the professor today. So let's go ahead and get started. And I want to start before I talking about this and say, like finding information about Brazilian sticker history. There's no place I've ever found that just like has a nice timeline where I can just like scroll through and be like, okay, that looks nice. It's like a mixing and mashing of just like random information I've found. Like some of this is just conclusions I've made from things I've seen. So please, like, don't take my word as the Bible. This is just from my experience and what I've found. So I'm definitely open for any Brazilians. I know there was a Brazilian guy who was commenting on our last video. So like if he has any comments of things I might have messed up, I always am trying to learn and improve. So let's get into it. So like Brazilian sticker card history is definitely different than places like England that were like mass producing in the early 1900s. Like you can easily still find tobacco English cards, which is crazy to me because in Brazil, it started also with tobacco in the early 1900s, and I've never seen them. Like they exist. I've never personally seen one. There might be Americans that have them, but they're hard to find. Like they came in tobacco packs, just like other tobacco cards that existed in the U.S. and England and other places, and it makes sense. Tobacco products were super popular in the early 1900s, so that's a start. And I wish I could give more information, but like I said, it's so hard to find any. But the early history of Brazilian stickers is you'll see a lot about rarity and like how they're super scarce and there's just not many to even find. So yeah, we move into the kind of 1930s, which is the Bala's uh, chocolate and candy producer was the company. So if you look and you find, I have this album here, and they're super fragile, so I'm going to try not to break any of them. But if you look at the Balas, it's super famous for like Ball is Fuji Ball for throughout the 1930s, 40s, 50s. There's a bunch of famous stickers that you've probably seen on eBay that come from Ballas, which is a candy and chocolate company. So a way to advertise their and get people to buy their stuff was to have stickers. And so what they would do, and I'm going to kind of translate really quickly, but you know, on the first page, and I'm sorry, the detail might not be that good, and it's in Portuguese, but it says, uh, "Este album é distribuído gratuitamente," which is, this album is a free album. So they want people to have these because they want people to want to put the stickers in them. So, you buy chocolate, you buy candy, you get these stickers, you get this nice little Pele, this is in 1959, by the way. And so, you try to fill out these stickers. And what a lot of people don't realize, and I want to do a quick shout out to Soccer Cards Rock, Vince in Australia. He and I talked about this. I was on his podcast. Go check him out. He's on Instagram, Soccer Cards Rock. Awesome dude. So, it says on the bottom here, it says, and I'm sorry, it's going to be really hard, but it says, like, essentially it says, this album, if you fill out this whole page, you have the right to claim for this page a bicycle. So a lot of these albums, you got these items based on filling out these pages. So, that kind of adds to the lore of Brazilian stickers, in my opinion, is they're going to be stuck in albums. They're only going to be found by by buying things like chocolate and candy, turning them in to get these items. So they're super limited. They're not like these stickers, over the years, more and more going to be found, but it's not going to be, once again, like English and German cards, in my opinion.
So you had to turn in the completed albums to receive a chair or a lamp.
It's just going to be by the page. So if you look at the back of this album, it has the full list. So it says, if you
A
fill out,
bicycle.
yep, if you do numbers 1 through 11, you get a bicycle. If you do 12 through 22, you get a clock. If you do 23 to 33, you get a hat. Blah blah blah.
But you had to turn these albums in.
I think they had to. Yes, actually, yes. You had to turn them in or get stamped at the store. So, um, that's why a lot of these are hard to find, and a lot of them don't exist. These were meant to be turned in. These are meant to be, uh, turned in to get like better prices. Obviously, nowadays you'd wish you'd had a 1958 Pele than a bicycle. Um, but yeah, so this was a way to get their product sold through which is the company was Ballas. Uh, so that's kind of a big time in Brazilian soccer sticker history. As well as I kind of skipped over 1938 was the first. They did have some World Cup stickers, but no, like it wasn't very official. But that brings us to 1950, where the first ever official World Cup album came out, which we talked about last time. 1950, crazy year for Brazilian soccer. Um, so it wasn't official. I can't remember the name of the company that uh, produced the album, but that was the first actual World Cup album, and that's where every 4 years there was actually became a World Cup album. So then Panini becomes a company in 1961 in Italy. So they didn't produce in Brazil so until later on. So there's no Brazilian Panini um, stickers out there for a long time after that. But I just wanted to throw that in the timeline because it is big for like sticker history in general. So that's when after the Balas, kind of like period in Brazil, which ended in the 1960s. That's when it kind of became like a lot of unofficial, like not unofficial, I don't want to say, but smaller editors who were creating things. There was no like yearly release like they have now. So it was just kind of like this company wanted to use it for their store and like kind of follow the same thing of like turning things in and you get like a prize and et cetera. So, it just, there was no real pattern until 1970 when Panini released its first ever World Cup album, which is obviously super sought after now. And I know like a lot of people are paying a lot of money for the Pele 1970. So that's when every 4 years, uh, people could expect Panini to release that album.
The colours of Brazil take over the streets. Rio de Janeiro lives the excitement of the 2018 World Cup. A packet of stickers, please. The country is the world's biggest consumer of Panini stickers. The World Cup album and its stickers are on sale in every kiosk. At lunchtime, the city centre takes on the appearance of a school playground.
I started coming here yesterday, but there are plenty of places to swap stickers. I swap in my office with my son's friends at school.
And as you've just heard in the video clip, people started to trade these stickers up until even 2018, not only in Brazil and Mexico, across Latin America, Europe. These people wanted to trade, fill out their albums, and no one saw like a monetary, there was no outcome for them to monetarily. This was just to fill out their albums, and it's like a huge thing in Brazil. Like if you go to Brazil, there's meetups and parks where people have all these stickers, and you buy these packs for like 10 cents at the store. So,
well, I will say it is one of the most gratifying things I think I've done as a collector. I
mhm,
used to collect baseball cards way back then. Long time passed because of college, and then when I came back home, I had the 2018 album, half filled, and I remember when I
mhm,
was filming it in 2018. There is a schedule of the different. We have a brand of supermarkets here. You could
mhm,
go. They had scheduled meetups where you could go and trade
yeah,
stickers. I didn't go to one. I look forward to going to one during the next World Cup. But
mhm,
coming back in 2020 and filling out that album that I hadn't filled yet, through various ways. You can order stickers through Panini.
mhm.
Obviously, the Mbappe isn't available anymore
Yeah, of
for
course.
obvious reasons. But
Yeah.
you can order up to 100 stickers if you had any missing.
Mhm.
I ended up buying 2 boxes because I wanted to rip and find the stickers myself.
Yep.
I bought some singles on eBay, but filling out that stickers book is how I got into collecting soccer cards because I
Mhm.
was like, man, this is so gratifying. Obviously, there's not going to be another one till 2022. How can I keep up, collecting within the hobby? And so I
Yep.
think the importance of these books and these stickers is not only the monetary value some of them have or will have, but rather it's a way of people getting into the hobby in an
Yep.
inexpensive way, and it does hold some value once they're completed. Obviously, I learned that later on they hold more value if you keep the
Mhm.
stickers off the
Yeah.
the album, but I will say it was a very inexpensive way of doing this hobby and enjoying it as if I
Mhm.
were a kid again.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, and that's the goal of the stickers outside of the United States is they're so cheap. Like I said, they're 10 cents for a pack or whatever. Like they're meant for a kid to be able to go into the gas station, buy a pack, and then be able to trade those with his friends. They're not built for investors in the United States to get them slabbed by PSA. The goal is literally to put them in a fucking album so you can enjoy them. Like there was like in Brazil, that's why it's one of the other reasons where I said I'm going to talk about scarcity. Like there was no reason for a single person to keep things not stuck. Like you wanted to complete your album. That's why it's so hard to go now and find unstuck, excuse me, never stuck stickers in Brazil. Is you wanted to fill out that page to get the item. You wanted to fill out that page because it was your collection. Like a lot of Brazilian collectors I talk to, like they like when I tell them, hey, can you just like rip out that Zico because I want it? They're like, you don't want the album, and I'm like, I mean, I'm not going to pay the difference to get like a bunch of random players I don't truly care that much about, but like to them, it's like filling out an album is like the thing. Like you want to have that completed album. So yeah, there's that big difference in collecting, and I've seen a lot of people discuss. Panini shouldn't be selling stickers online that you can just buy online, but they're not producing this, like I said, for us to go and slab at PSA. Like these World Cup albums are built for people across the world. You know, billions of people love soccer, and they want to make it affordable for someone in Brazil to be able to buy a pack, stick it in their album, trade them. So that opened up. It is still like a very big thing, and I don't see it going away anytime soon. Like people really love to do that. So that was a big step in sticker history there for Brazil and in general across the board. And then I'd say the next and like kind of final moment was 1989. That's when Panini bought Editora Abril, or at least partnered with them to create the yearly Panini like Campeonato Brasileiro release that just had like every Serie A and B team, the whole list, and that's how you see the Ronaldinho, the Kaká, Cafu, like you can see it says like this is the 1991 Cafu, and it says like Editora Abril, but it also says after Editora Abril it says Panini SA, so like Panini South America, and that's when they started completing the yearly albums that you see nowadays, and it's changed to where it just says Panini. It has like the typical Panini back, and yeah, so that's kind of the last moment and kind of a brief history of soccer stickers. And cards are very, very not big in the history of Brazil. Collecting, there was a 1978 ping pong, which is owned by Topps. Actually, I just learned that the other day. And that features a rookie card of Socrates right here, and a rookie card of Zico, and there was 2 variations for each player. So like this one's like trees and background is what PSA calls it. So that was they didn't last very long. I think they lasted like 2 years of making cards, but cards just have not been very popular. Like it's not like that's a very American collecting trend, and it's not something in Brazil that's very popular.
So I have a couple questions. I think when we talk about how these stickers would, and this has to do with the rarity and scarcity of a lot of the stickers that we see today. When we talk about how you had to trade some of these in or get them stamped to acquire at that time expensive items, it happens in the Italian version where you have the Valida backs, the Bis Valida backs, and those are rare because of that reason, right? You had to turn those in to acquire. You had to turn in 5 of those or whatever the number was to acquire a bigger item at that time. Of course, hindsight's 2020, and I'm sure a lot of those people would have wanted to preserve a lot of those stickers now or cards. But I think it's interesting, and my question is, do you know where that idea originated from? Was it Brazil? Did it originate in Europe? Did it originate here in the United States? Is there...
So I know in Spain there was early 1900s like chocolate cards. Like I have a Paulo Alcantara chocolate card, but I know that was just used as advertising, and I know there was some coffee cards in Germany, but I had never seen like a fill out this page and this will like get you this item. Like I've never seen it anywhere else. Like to me it's, at least in my experience, and I don't have much experience outside of Brazil like this deep. So I've never seen it anywhere else. I've never seen it on any other albums. Granted, I don't speak German and I don't speak Spanish, so like it could say them in those albums. I don't know, but I've never seen it outside of Brazil. To me, it looks like a very Brazilian characteristic.
Now, we went over the broad history of Brazilian stickers, but within that, there's and excuse my ignorance, but there's things like the Aquarela Pelé. There is a Balas Pelé, or so within that broad history, there's some specific stickers that come from different publishers.
Yeah, and you'll have those one-offs. Like I said, there's a lot of like one-off productions where it was like specifically for the World Cup to commemorate things. But in terms of like reoccurring themes, there wasn't, outside of what I said, there wasn't many like you could count on a yearly release from those companies. But yeah, there was one-offs for like specific companies that wanted to release things and do some marketing, but in terms of like I said, in terms of relying on that every year, you can't, like, a lot of these companies went out of business or just stopped doing that marketing tactic. So that's why it's so hard to have that guaranteed expectation of what you can find, and why it's so scattered and rare all over the place.
So and because of that rarity, I think sometimes we find new stickers. I see it all the time where it's like, "Hey, is this Pele, real?" So
Yeah,
how can collectors, how can research will be the obvious answer, but within that research, how can collectors feel that what they're purchasing or what they're finding is real,
yeah.
legitimate, and will be accepted by the community?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it sadly comes down to like how you feel in terms of what you accept. Like to me, it kind of comes down to like, for me, if it was produced by an editor that I can see that it like where came from exactly, that's fine with me as long as is there's a guarantee that it is original to the era. I'm okay with it because licensing to me wasn't as important until later in the century. So I don't care as much about the fact that like it wasn't like, Santos was like, yeah, you can use our logo. And like obviously later on it became law that, you had to buy those rights. But up until the later 1980s, I'll buy anything before that. Like to me, as long as I can and see the fact that it is at least original to the era, to that year, then I'm okay with it. But you know, if people don't feel the same way, they can rely on, buying Panini or Topps company cards, but you're going to be extremely limited. Like, pretty much you're going to have no options. A lot of 1970s Zico, like, wasn't very official. But that's just an era where there wasn't a lot of people producing stuff. And, the 1970s in Brazil was an interesting time. Like, you had the dictatorship, and you know you can see that by the fact that there's just not that much produced in that time. So um you just have to be willing to. For me, I'm going to buy anything that's original to the time, but if you're not willing to, then you can just stick to finding Panini releases in Italy. So yep.
And calling them rookies.
And calling them rookies, of course. So it's yeah, that's a whole nother fun topic that I obviously am very outspoken about. But um, it really comes down to collector preference.
And when we talk about, between the European cards and the Brazilian cards, is if it's a Brazilian player, you would want the Brazilian issue first, I would assume.
For me personally,
Yeah.
yeah, for me personally, I always want the Brazilian issue, just because my collection is centered around that. But it really, most players, there's no reason that they would have anything before their production in Brazil because they're going to be found as a teenager playing for some club in Brazil. The rare exception of like Ronaldo Fenomeno, where somehow he didn't have a card produced in the year he played or the season he played in Brazil before he went to Europe. But other than that, every player is going to have their sticker produced first in Brazil.
And this is focused heavily on Brazil, but I'm thinking about Maradona now, and all
Mm,
the other players that are from other countries in Latin America. They
yep,
also, we think about the Maradona Calciatori, but there's also the Industria Argentina, which
yep.
precedes that. So even though we're focused on Brazil, a lot of these bigger known players have their home, I guess, issue of their sticker.
Yeah, like I said, it just comes down and people are paying big money for the 1979 because it's like the first official. You have the World Cup Maradona 78, and you also have the 77 disc. But to some people, you know, there's not an official editor. They don't like the fact of like buying things that are unlicensed, quote unquote. But um, you know, like I said, it just comes down to what if you don't want to buy things that are unofficial, don't buy them. Like to me, you're missing out on a whole side of collecting that is very fun. And like there's a lot of albums out there that I'm finding that I've never seen anyone ever talk about. And 1975 Zico, I found an album and I have one on the way. And like you can sit there and say, I'm going to wait for I'd rather have the 78 official Zico card, produced by an official company Tops owns, blah, blah, blah. But like, if I can find a sticker from 3 years earlier, like, I want the sticker. To me, it's a lot better. It's a lot more interesting, and it's rare. It's like the cards I can find all day. Like they came in sets. They're easy to keep, relatively clean. But these stickers are stuck in albums, and a lot of these albums are stuck in attics that haven't been touched in 20 years. So like, it's to me, there's a lot more fun in finding those like random 70s or whatever stickers.
Well, and I guess my last note on this topic would be that a lot of these unlicensed, like the
Yeah,
Abrigol or the Industria Argentina, they
yeah,
ended up merging with Panini, or Panini ended up buying them,
yeah,
and so they were unlicensed at the time, but because they had the ability to produce those stickers, they had the knowledge, they ended up
yeah,
merging either way. So, I mean, I guess Panini had the vision of what was going
yeah.
on.
Of course. Yeah, and like I said, with Panini bought Editora Brio for to make the official Serie A stickers every year. Like yeah, like Editora Brio obviously existed before Panini came in and bought them because Panini saw the reason to buy them. So people are scared. They see Editora Brio, they're like, "What the hell is that?" But it's like, well, now it's a Panini company. So like, it's not just some random group of people in their basement. Like this is a company that was producing specifically in Brazil, like with a good operation. Like there's a reason Panini wanted them.
And this will be Neymar's rookie comes from there,
Editora Brio, yep.
and this is a perfect segue to our starting 11. Matt, see what I did there?
Hey, getting better at it.
So I think we'll start with the theme, which is uh, vintage, and we'll go with vintage starting 11.
Yep. Yeah, and I want to get some background so people know exactly like what the rules were for us. So Brian and I both made Brazil player 11s. My team is players that their first year of playing was before 2000, and they must be retired now, officially retired, not playing. Um, and Brian's starting 11 is only players that are currently playing that are Brazilian. So it's more of a, has been versus what is now. And let us know what you think. Like, we want to know your starting 11. Um, and feel free to like make fun of us for our choices, make some comments. I know some of my choices are going to piss some people off. So here we go. I'm going to start with the goalkeeper, and move up because I think it's more interesting to get to the good stuff later. So the first sticker, first player is going to be Gilmar, who was the goalkeeper in the 1960s for the Brazilian national team. Obviously, won some World Cups, and I think he played I think he had like 100 caps for the Brazilian team, and had like less than a goal a game average given up. So he's a historic keeper. Did a lot for Brazil, and if I had to pick a backup, it would be Taffarel. So that's my thinking. But Gilmar is just a legend and one of the best of all time. So
What formation are you going with?
oh, that's a good question. Good. I meant to say that. I'm gonna do a 4-1-2-1-2. I love the diamond midfield. That's my personal go to when I'm on FIFA. Plus, it just allowed me to add some players like at the defensive mid position that might have been left out. But so let's start with the back four. So left back, this was one of the hardest decisions I had to make, and I know this one's going to get a lot of people riled up. But I went with Nilton Santos, legend from the 1950s and 60s, at left back, and he's one of the best to ever do it. He changed the game, played with Garrincha back in the day. Roberto Carlos obviously is. It was I kind of had to flip a coin. They're both. Roberto Carlos had the insane free kicks. He really changed the game in that way, and changed how attacking defenders continued to get better and better. So it was really hard to do that. So left back, Nilton Santos. Center backs, I just want to point out, both of mine are from pretty far back, and like I said kind of earlier, I don't even have their stickers. It's impossible to find them. So I wish I could show some stuff for these guys, but I don't even have them. I'm still searching pretty hard to get some of this stuff. So the first center back, the worst of the two, is going to be Aldair, and the best center back of all time in Brazilian history, which is Domingos de Guia. from the 1930s. This guy was one of the first black players to play for the national team. And, like we kind of talked about in our last episode, like he took a lot of heat for any issues that happened. His own fans, like, were racist towards him, but he was still one of the most legendary players of all time. And one of the center backs that really changed the game for Brazil. So that's my thinking there. And right back, we're going to go with Jaume Santos, another legendary player from the 1950s and 60s, that beautiful period for Brazilian soccer. And this sticker is from the 1954 Balas Federação album. I had never seen it. I just got it, and it's a really nice looking sticker, but this was also another tough one. Jaume Santos really changed the game as a right back at the time, and it's again kind of like Nilton Santos and being that attacking on the side. And it was really hard to not pick Cafu. I mean, Cafu is like the most capped player in Brazilian history. Won a couple World Cups for Brazil, like absolute legend at Roma. So that was really, really tough, and like that's one where I had to sit there and be like, I'm going to get someone riled up when I say that. So let's move on to defensive mid. And I thought this one was probably the easiest decision. I picked Falcao, and Falcao played in the 1970s and 80s, and he played mostly in Brazil, but did play in Europe at Roma. And he was on the dream, not, I don't want to call it the dream team, but the 1982 World Cup team that everyone thought was like one of the best teams to ever exist. The way he played was just so free flowing. It was really like the definition of jogo bonito. So he's an absolute legend, and I really like also collecting his items. And so we're going to have the two in the mid. So first we're going to go with my boy Socrates. This is the 1982 Laughing Cow. And I'm not going with rookies. I'm just kind of going with like stickers I like. So I love the name Laughing Cow. Like, it's just so funny to me. Like, so this is a sticker with him and Douglas from UK. It's a French item. And Socrates is, he played for Corinthians throughout the 1970s and 80s. And he was just outside of the game a huge character as well. Like, he was super against the dictatorship. Like, he really spoke out. He actually became a doctor. Like, he became a medical doctor afterwards. Smoked like a pack a day of cigarettes while he played, which is just like, I always think that's just so crazy that like a lot of these players, how good they could have been if they had today's guidelines and all that. So, and that's why it's so hard to compare a lot of these players. Right. Like, would Pele be good now? I don't know. Like, I would hope so, but like, he didn't have even the equipment Messi has now. So like, it's just such a random comparison. But the next, and I talk about this guy a lot, is Zico in the mid, and this is the 1977 Futebol de Ouro. I really like the look of this sticker. And Zico is just one of the best players to ever play in general. Midfielder for Flamengo, and then he went to Italy. They always said, like, if you got a free kick outside the box, like, just give us a goal because Zico's going to score it. This guy was, when I watch Cruyff, like, I think of Zico as well. Obviously, Cruyff is a better player. But Zico still is a technical director for a Japanese team. Like, he coached for like 20 years. Like, he is a very legendary player. And so I'm going to quickly give who were my backups. So Zico, I would have put Didi as my backup, Socrates, Jairzinho, and Falcao Zito as my backup. So now we're going to go into center attacking mid, and my favorite player that got me into soccer, which is Ronaldinho, of course. I mean, just like, didn't have the most like long career at the top level, but the years he had, I mean, it's Ronaldinho's talent is top 5 all time in terms of just straight talent, raw talent.
And it's interesting because I think any player, well, for me personally, any player that wins, player of the year in soccer, to me, I don't know, holds special value, and he achieved it. So
oh yeah, 100%. I mean, 06, like 05, 06, Ronaldinho was just like if you were playing against him, I'm sure you were just like, what am I even supposed to do?
It's not as quick. Speaking of pace, though, here's Ronaldinho again. He's already done Ramos once. Here he goes, Ronaldinho! Ronaldinho, 3-0! Ronaldinho! My word! Why is he the golden boot we have seen? My goodness me.
And I tell you, Paul, if people stood up and applauded Ronaldinho last time, I would say probably 50, maybe not 50, a big chunk of this stadium is on their feet applauding him.
Yeah.
What a magnificent player this guy is. As you say, he's won the France Football Ballon d'Or, European Footballer of the Year, effectively makes him World Footballer of the Year.
Tell you what,
this week.
The Brazilian commentator behind is still going, Ronaldinho!
Yeah. And as you just heard in the clip, I mean, the guy even got applauded by Madrid fans as a Barcelona player, which, you know, is just absolutely stupid. And the guy has left a long legacy. And, you know, unfortunately, you know, he became unfit and like has had some trouble in Brazil, but even his attitude to me was like Garrincha, in the fact that he played to play. Like his goal was just to like have fun on the pitch. Like he was never like, I want to become like a multi 500 millionaire. I never want to like his goal wasn't like, I'm gonna win like Ronaldo or CR7 and Messi. It's kind of like trying to win that Ballon d'Or. For Ronaldinho, it was just like getting on the pitch and just like
entertaining.
Yeah, and you know, my backup for Ronaldinho, if I had to pick one, would be Rivellino from the 1970s with his famous mustache too. But that kind of leads me into my two attacking players, and I'm going to piss a lot of people off. I'm just going to say that. I'm going to say that because Brazilian attacking players, like, you have a full bench of players that would start on the top 11 of other countries by far. Like, their bench for their attack would be the best to ever play for, like, England. Sorry, England fans, or, like, even Spain. Like, these players are ridiculous and World Cup winners. So I'm going to start with my bench for some of the players that would be on the bench and would not start. So, you know, unfortunately, and this one is going to be the one that really ticks a lot of people off, but on the bench is Ronaldo Fenomeno, and this is his like 1995 Mundichromo Copa America blackback. It was a hard decision, but you'll see who I picked in a second. Also on the bench, another legendary player and, you know, just an insane goal scorer is Rivaldo. And, you know, he is a great player as well and won the World Cup for Brazil. But who I picked, I think, is better. So I'm going to get there. I know I'm kind of teasing, but I also would have Zizinho on the bench. 1950s player, really changed the game. One of the best strikers in Brazilian history, was unfortunately part of that 1950 team. And the last one on the bench would be Romario, who I would consider like one of the most prolific goal scorers in his time he did have. But that leads me to my decision as my two strikers in the front. So the pair that never lost a game together while they played for Brazil and won 2 World Cups together. One of them led them to a World Cup in 1962. We got Garrincha on the right. Then this is his 1966 PSA 9 I talked about in the last episode. Got it from PWCC. Beautiful looking sticker. We might have to do an episode on Garrincha because this guy's history is, his like personal history is just insane. Like, it is, they could write a movie about it. But
I want to read the book, but it's only available abroad. Like, I can't find his autobiography here.
I'll send it to you. I have it.
Okay, boom.
Yeah, boom.
So,
I still gotta finish it, but I will send it to you, and then we can discuss. And then I think the most obvious choice on this whole team is, you know, Pele. Like, the best player to ever exist. And this is his Panini 1965 sticker. And, you know, just the most important player in soccer history. 3-time World Cup winner. Allegedly scored over 1,000 goals, if you want to have that debate. But, you know, Garrincha and Pele as a duo were insane. And like I said, they never lost when they played together for Brazil. And that's like 50 matches. Like, that's ridiculous. Does not make sense. So, you know, it was like I said, picking a Brazilian 11 is picking the best players in the world and trying to make that 11. Like I know I'm gonna make someone so mad for my choices, but that's my starting 11. So it's all you now.
Well, I think you had it much harder than I did because, as we know, for some while now, Brazil has struggled
Hmm.
to get to that level that we're accustomed to, right? And I
Yeah.
think there's some glory brought in the 2019 Copa America.
Hmm.
So I think I had it a little bit easier with the players we have now in terms of picking the best 11.
All right.
I'm doing current players and players that I have hope for in the future if you're
Hmm.
looking to purchase. And I think I'll start from the back as well. I think Allison at goalkeeper. I mean, he's been the best goalkeeper for the past couple of years. And then Man City fans will say Everton, right?
Ederson.
Ederson. So, it is what it is. If you watch the Copa documentary on the Brazil team, there is talk about how there is, some friendly rivalry.
Of course.
Obviously, Allison came out on top. So, um,
But he
I,
is injured now, so there's that issue. So
yeah, but you talk about the Champions League, winning the PL last year. I mean,
oh, of course,
yeah,
no.
you got to give it to him. And this was funny because we were like, "Is there a good right back for Brazil right now?" And it escaped both our mind. I mean, we couldn't think of a better one than Danny Alves, who's still playing for Sao Paulo FC, your team. He plays as a
Yep.
striker now, you say,
Yep.
but historically, I think he was the best right back for a long time in the entire
Oh,
world.
100%. And he played for Barcelona for over 10 years, won every trophy you can imagine for Barcelona. He was at the top of the world for a long time.
And next to him at center back, this is interesting because I think Marquinhos has been also like a staple in that Brazilian team. But
Hmm.
as a Liverpool fan, I saw who got hurt, but I saw Fabinho filling in for Van Dijk, and he did a hell of a job again.
Okay. Oh, okay. This is interesting. I see some correlations going on, but okay, I'm gonna let you finish.
Might as
I'll
well
let
do
you
the
finish.
Liverpool 11 right now. I think Marquinhos takes it obviously, but I think he, we got some. These players are getting old, Matt.
I mean, Thiago Silva scored yesterday for
Wait,
Chelsea.
hold on. He's the guy next to Marquinhos.
Oh shit! Sorry, my bad. My
Yeah.
bad. My
See,
bad.
I had Thiago next to him.
Okay. 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 Fair enough.
But he's
Oh,
also
I thought
getting.
you picked Fabinho. I thought you picked Fabinho.
No, I have Marquinhos.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
I just threw the Fabinho thing in there to. I mean,
Got it.
I have Fabinho on my bench
Okay. Got it.
as a replacement for Marquinhos, but then I have Thiago next to him,
Got it. Okay.
who's also been a staple. I mean, he had
Oh, of
some
course.
embarrassing moments for Brazil, but I think the good outweighs the bad.
100%. We're like David Luiz was also part of that center back pairing that got 7-1 in Brazil, but we can't let one game
Right.
define his whole
Right.
career. So he's been a staple.
Then I have this is also another conversation we had Marcelo
Mhm.
at left back, but he's not being played in Madrid right now.
I know, but in terms of like how he has been in the past, 4 times Champions League winner. I can't remember if it's 3 or 4, but the guy is ridiculous. Like he's just one of the top left back of all time. So it's not even
No, I totally
close.
agree. And then there's some young talent coming on, and I think in the center back position, one of his colleagues at Madrid, Eder Militao,
Mhm.
who's also been called up, and then at left back, somebody I personally acknowledge don't know much about, but know he's making waves is Alex Telles,
Mm.
who just got to United. So let's
Yeah.
see how he plays out.
Yep.
So in the midfield, again, current players. I went with the 4-3-3 with two defensive midfielders. I think I'd have Casemiro. Gotta have him in.
Oh, I mean, Casemiro. I don't think there's a better CDM right now. Obviously, I have bias for Brazilian players, but I think I think it's ridiculous. Like I just watching him in the Champs League, produce 2 important goals for Madrid when they were potentially about to get really screwed, starting out their group league, group games. I mean, the guy is just a beast.
And I guess I could put Fabinho. See, I had Allen, who's making waves at Everton, who
Mhm.
has proved valuable to the national team, but hasn't had like, I guess, a storied
Yep.
um, club career. I had Allen in there, but I think Fabinho could be the other CDM, and that pretty
Mhm.
much lock up the defense.
Got it.
I guess the more attacking um, midfield position, I'd have Coutinho, who's had like a up and down career. He started well
Mhm.
at Liverpool, didn't have a successful spell at Barcelona, went to
Yep.
Bayern, came back to Barca. But when he's on, man, his goals are beautiful.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's like a lot of Brazilian players have. They have those amazing years and then just suffer from some like some bad times and disappear. Like it happens to a lot of Brazilian wonder kids. So
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully he's able to pull through because he plays. I think he plays that idea of El Jogo Bonito as much of the players that we've all talked about. I think they're
mhm.
considered the best of whatever era they're in because of that.
Yep.
At left wing, I mean, how can I not have Neymar? Here's my only auto of Ney. And I bought this
Love it.
before. I bought it before the prices spiked. So lucky
Hell
on
yeah.
that. And then I haven't gotten to the rookie name, but here's the Copa,
Mm.
somewhat his Copa rookie, I guess.
Copa 2011. Yep.
So those are my favorite names at the striker position or at the center forward position, depending how you play it. I'm a huge fan of Firmino. I love Firmino. He gets a lot
Again,
of
I see
man.
some connections happening.
He gets a lot of crap for not scoring goals recently, and then you have Thiago who came in and just like scored a hat trick and so on and so forth. But I think Klopp has always said he's been the motor behind that team in terms
Mhm.
of getting the ball forward and I mean when I started watching him and some of the passes he had last year, man. Again, it's that jogo bonito idea of just playing the game beautifully, and I think he
Yep.
does it. I mean, sometimes when he doesn't know look and it doesn't get where it's supposed to get, it's like, come on, bro. Like we just need the pass. But other times, I just really appreciate what he brings to our team. And then at at the right wing, I guess position, who he usually plays through the left, but I'm a huge Richarlison man, and like you see what he did for Brazil and Copa, and I just really like him, and I really do hope he has a good career because I really like him. And one of my favorite cards of his is this Kaboom. Um,
Mm. I
hope it's
love
not.
Caboom
Yeah, so I really like. It's not focusing, but I really like how he looks in the card
for
and the
sure.
idea behind it. And then some of the players I didn't mention that obviously deserve some spots, and it's your boy who you showed the rookie sticker, Gabriel Jesus.
Mhm.
Hopefully he comes back from injury and does
Yep.
something at Man City. I think he's just lived under so much pressure, and
Oh, 100%.
he was projected to be the next Ronaldo and this and that,
Yeah.
and then I just think it's hard when one you're playing for the Selecção because it's one of the most storied
Yep.
country teams in the world, but also when you're put in the same sentence as a lot of these players that went on to be some of the greatest ever, it's
Yeah, and
tough.
you have Sergio Aguero, playing the best of one of the best Premier League strikers of all time. It's hard to take time away from him, and so the chances he did have to take time, he did do well, but like it was so hard. And obviously Aguero is kind of winding down now, but it'll be interesting to see how he does. And he's still so young, Gabriel Jesus. So he's got a lot of time to become the greatest Brazilian player in Premier League history.
And some of the players that are coming into their own in their club, we have Rodrigo on the right side,
Mhm.
who's had some decent games recently.
Yep.
Hoping for a lot from him. I had his rookie ticket, sold it because I wasn't in the shape I necessarily wanted it, but looking forward to owning some of his cards. Boom, there it is,
I
and
picked up the red version from T-Mall.
it's beautiful,
Uh,
man.
it is. I really like Rodrigo. He hasn't had a ton of play in La Liga, but his goal scoring record so far in the Champions League is ridiculous, and that's the best teams in the world to play against. And he has a lot of competition at Madrid, but he's still 19, like 18. So he's got a lot of time left to prove himself, and I hope he doesn't fall into that getting stuck on the bench at Madrid. But
Well,
I
and
really
he
like
broke,
him.
like you said, he broke into the scene with a hat trick. I mean, it was like one of
Yeah, everyone was like, "What? Who is this kid?" Like, and he's also playing alongside Vinicius, who I don't know. Vinicius is a tough one. I'm not sure if you're going to talk about him, but it's like I want to like really like him, but like he's had some play that's questionable, and it's just like, was he also too young and maybe needs some time at a team that's not Madrid? It's one of those things where it's like maybe he can like take a quick break somewhere else, go on loan, and maybe improve his game, improve his decision making at not I don't want to say a lower stake, but playing for a mid-table team in Spain or Germany or Italy is definitely you're gonna have less fan reaction than playing for Real Madrid.
Yeah, I had him on my bench, obviously behind Nate. But Vinicius is an interesting case because if we're talking about cards and stickers, he had a higher price tag than Rodrigo,
Mm-hmm.
and Rodrigo cards are pretty cheap right now.
Yep.
Um, but he hasn't been playing. We had that whole Benzema scandal recently, and
Yep.
he's had his ups and downs. When he's on, and he's fast, and he gets the ball up, and he scores. But he struggles. So let's see. I think moving forward, talking about country now, I think Brazil has a good chance. Moving forward with some of these young players, I think the defense is again, these players are staples in the team, but they are getting
Mm-hmm.
old. So it'll be interesting. They always have that attacking position, and I think they're fine up front. But in the back four, I think is where we're going to see some struggles
Yeah.
moving forward. But those are, I mean, that's like I think it's a pretty basic top 11 for the current players we have, but it's what I could come up with, and I'm sure people will have things to say about those too. But that's what we're here for, man. I welcome the discussion, and I'm looking forward to learning about players that I might have missed, didn't even think about in my starting 11,
Yeah.
and I'm looking forward to those comments and discussions around it.
There's one player I'm actually very surprised that you didn't mention, which is Coutinho. And Coutinho had a lot of. He obviously had a terrible spell after Liverpool when he went to Barcelona the
Wait,
first time.
I put him in my attacking midfielder.
Did you? Did I miss
Yeah,
that? Oh,
you
I
did
must
miss
have
it.
completely. Wow, I must
I
have
had
been missing it.
Coutinho in my attacking midfielder
Oh wow,
position.
I'm not gonna lie, I completely missed that. Okay,
And I did talk about his Barcelona spell,
what
and
the hell? What like? Did I just like?
I just missed my 5 minute rant on Coutinho.
Oh, wow, I must be.
It's okay, man.
Whew, okay. Anyway, I have one more to add of a player that I think might become a Brazilian great, and this might be too early to say it, but Anthony, he plays for Ajax right now. He's very young. He was at Sao Paulo, which is why I like him because I'm a Sao Paulo fan. But he's doing super well at Ajax in his first year in Europe, and I'm really excited to see where he goes. I just told one of my sources in Brazil, I was like, I really want his 2019 rookie. Um, so I'm looking forward to getting some of those. But that's a player I think definitely to watch and could be eventually in that Rodrigo category.
Well, talking about that team, when we have David Nettes there too, right?
Yep.
So I think I have him in FIFA. That's how I know about him. But I had to take him off my
The
team
best way to learn.
because he wasn't cutting it, man. But I do know he's a young player. Many people look forward to. So
Yeah, and I mean, there's thousands of Brazilians that leave Brazil to play across the world. So there's always going to be that next potential, Pele or whatever you want to say, next best Brazilian player all time. But like I said, a lot of them unfortunately don't live up to those expectations. So only time will tell.
yeah, there's already that added pressure being a Brazilian international. I feel like so
Yeah.
it's if you can live up to it. But I mean, I think that's it for me. You got anything else to add, Matt? Other
No,
than Messi, Mike Coutinho,
I don't know
discussion?
where, like, dude, like we were having a discussion this whole time, and somehow I just missed that. I don't know. I must be on another planet right now. But the
You're just
question
thinking
I have,
you're thinking about the Chiefs, man. That's what it is.
I am, dude. They're playing the Panthers. I'm not going to get into American football because most people here probably are like, shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear that. But no, my question is, who would win between those two squads?
Oh, no doubt. I mean, you talk about Ronaldinho, you talk about Pele, Garrincha.
Yeah, it's okay.
But that's, I think Brazil is in that building stage, and a lot of these players can make it and live up to that hype. It's
Yeah,
just a matter of, but even Neymar, man, who's been the most promising talent in modern Brazilian time, hasn't. He's good. Don't get me wrong, and he's one of the best in the world. But when you compare him to that era that you just talked about, it's tough. It's tough because
yeah,
we had high expectations. We thought he was going to win the World Cup, and he hasn't necessarily lived up to that. So
yeah.
it's tough.
It is, but no, I think that's all, and it was fun. I want to hear what people say.
Yeah, please subscribe to all our different. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're on YouTube now. We send out our link usually to the podcast directly. However, is more comfortable for you to listen. Please do so. And again, we appreciate all types of feedback, and we're
Yep.
looking forward to improving, and so on and so forth. And we're excited for the fourth episode, which we haven't. We kind of have an idea what we're going to talk about.
It'll be interesting. It's going to be a lot of interesting stickers that many people maybe haven't seen before, and I think it'll be super super cool for people to check out and see what we're sitting on in our collections. So
Awesome. Well, I'm Brian. He's Matt. Thank you for joining us. Till next time.
it's been fun.